a set of plans to review. And my thought is, I'm thinking we'll reach out here probably first of next week when we stamp those, and then schedule our 90% review meeting. So I think that's really exciting. There's some stuff that is just kind of hanging out there, but I think the most important thing is getting these projects into DEQ to begin their review process. That's a 42-day process, or that they're allowed 42 days for review. So anything that the district might have, or any additional comments or tweaks we have, we'll just keep document of, and when we get DEQ's comments, we'll let them know if any tweaks have been made, and then just get their final approval on before we go out to bid. And then, so one of the items with that is, we're still working on that kind of the final wrap up of the easement with Fredericks, and I think we should be done with that here shortly. And then I don't know if you guys would like me to chat about the SRF reimbursement on that or not.
That is an agenda item, correct?
Perfect.
We'll talk about
that. And then maybe construction easement is just ongoing. And we've already planned to just bid this as an alternative item for that water line, so that gives us flexibility on timing of that work. And then any questions on those water line projects that would be good to discuss? I know that Bob mentioned the flow meter. Bob, what I'd like to do is on our 90% design review meeting, my thought is let's talk through that at that meeting.
Okay, it works.
Is that okay with you?
Yep, it works.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, because I think we'll be able to go into a little bit more detail that'll make that a productive conversation instead of doing it here.
Okay.
Any questions on the 90% water line or water improvement projects?
Nope, I don't think so.
Okay. On-call task, the DCIP grant, we had a meeting, what is that, probably 3 weeks ago. We met on that, and I believe the Navy's currently reviewing that and helping provide a letter of support. I think we discussed we're planning on leaving the project as is with focus really on the tank, rehab only. And then we're just right now kind of in stationary mode, standby, waiting for that formal funding request to come out. Does that sound correct?
That's right, and I know they are sure it's going to happen in May, so.
May, okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
On that, is that just when the request comes out and is presented to them?
It's when it's posted, yes, and so that starts the process, but what we've been trying to do is, once that happens, we want to be in a position to jump on it. And the way it looks, we should be able to, Seth that took Alan's place is cooperating in getting that letter of support that we need from Carter Rock. So it looks good, right, Kyle? From where we sit, it looks like we're going to have everything very shortly after it comes out.
Yeah, I think the only thing is I still haven't seen that support letter, and we've been asking for about 6 months on that. So I'm not really excited about that because we've been really diligent on that, and we've communicated a lot. That's came from the districts, came from Keller. So I'm really fingers crossed that they're going to come through on that, because that is imperative that we get that letter, as we've learned from the first iteration.
Right, that's the one thing we're missing, and the gal over at Everett too is really working with Seth to get it. So at this point, I'm optimistic. But like you say,
yeah, 100%, yeah. No, I am too. I just, it'll just be important when that comes out that we help push on them and make sure that letter happens. Because from my understanding, that's the only thing that's keeping us from getting some of that funding.
Absolutely.
Okay.
ARPA funding, so this is pretty interesting. So Kootenai County received funding through ARPA, and they did a request on projects to receive funding. So we put together a really quick funding request that was centered more on the wastewater side, if I recall, and submitted that. Cheryl, our admin here and funding administrator, helped put that together. And she actually attended the Kootenai County. They developed a committee, and they actually called it the Kootenai County ARPA Task Force. And so Kootenai County went through and ranked all this. And what's really kind of interesting and almost comical is Kootenai County ranked all of their projects as the highest importance, and just about everyone else's projects were not really that important. So it's really kind of a bummer because we spent not a ton of time, but we did our due diligence. We communicated with them. We made sure that this was eligible, and it most certainly was, and that this project was geared towards that. And then at the end of the day, it came down to they wanted to make sure that they were taken care of, and if there's crumbs for some other people, sure, but I don't think they really were too interested in helping other water and sewer districts. Is kind of what was conveyed to us, which is kind of unfortunate. But I have some good news regarding that.
You got a new county.
Here's the spin-off. So unfortunately, right now, it doesn't appear, and here's the caveat to all of that. I know I'm bouncing around here. At the meeting, they said they are still not sure if they're even going to accept the ARPA funds.
What?
So they went through this whole process to request everyone to submit applications, and they haven't decided that they were going to use the money yet. So we were just scratching our heads. Had we known that, we never would have ever submitted, probably, if they hadn't made up their mind. So I thought that was pretty interesting on that behalf.
Well, they'll refund us for the expenses we have in this one.
Oh, of course. You know how the county is, of course.
So here's the good news, I'll say. We submitted a letter of interest for the water. We had some additional water projects. I think we had some water meters. We asked for a couple, I forget our ask question or asking amount for some additional funding on the water side through the LOI for DEQ this last January. Now, the ARPA funds that are coming through that, they're anticipating the grant dollars to be 49% of the loan.
Wow.
So it's a 51% loan, 49% grant that will potentially come through SRF. So the good news is, we went out on a limb and said, hey, let's just get this in and let's see how this shakes out. We've got their application submitted. Hopefully we make it on the priority list. And then the other good news is a lot of grant dollars are coming down the pipeline, and we should be eligible. We're going to be project ready. We've already got an SRF loan through DEQ. There's a lot of things that are going really well for that. So fingers crossed on that. We should find out in the next month or so on that regard. And Bob, hopefully that's getting us funding to do meters.
Yes, like that.
So that's kind of my quick update on those items. I think any questions on those?
Yeah, I do have a question on the loan. Even let's just say in round numbers, 50%. So whatever we borrowed, we'll only have to, or whatever we put in for the LOI, and I think it was $1 million. I'm not sure.
I'm going to look it up real quick.
We'd only have to repay $500,000. However, we don't have that much room in the approval of the bond.
So here's the kicker. If we are eligible for our tank rehab and we get that funding, we all of a sudden theoretically wouldn't have to use any of the DEQ funding for the tank rehab. That potentially saves $750,000, $900,000 that we wouldn't use.
Yep.
So that'll enable us to borrow approximately another $750,000, $900,000, which based on their terms, that's equivalent to $1.5 million, 2x that.
Yeah, at 50%.
So
Got it.
Again, it's up in the air. We've got a lot of funding, kind of we're juggling here. I think the good news is we took the right steps. We got something submitted, and when that shakes out, we're gonna be hopefully in a good position to make the decisions, right? So, I think that's kind of to be determined as some of those variables get, figured out a little bit better.
And we still have that other grant too, possibility from,
Army Corps?
Army Corps,
Yes, correct. And
so,
I'm just
yeah, so.
looking,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, all right,